Welcome back to NRLW on Fox, all thanks to Harvey Norman. The three-peat, it is alive and well. Joe Barrett, Tiana Penatani and Sammy Bremner's Roosters are out to shatter the belief of the Newcastle Knights on Sunday. But interesting to see Hannah Southwell reflect on the season. The mood, you could see it at the beginning quite, I guess, downcast given the struggles they've had. But the fact that she's played a big part there in turning it around with good old Ted Lasso.
I love Ted Lasso. One of my favourite lines is going out like Willie Nelson. Now, I don't know if that's got anything to do with what the Knights are up to, but I thought that was a really, well, inspirational is probably an overused word, but for a captain to do that at that time, she's right, the Knights haven't been the Knights we've seen in the past. They have had a really mixed season, but somewhere in all of that, she's nailed it in terms of inspiring the others to make a change.
You have to do it differently each premiership. We always talk about how hard to find the motivation to keep going. They've won 2 in a row. Maybe they came easier. This one has had its challenges and its setbacks with form slumps at home. We don't see them losing at Newcastle. They did that twice this year. But this is the rivalry we have built up in the NRLW in its short history. The Newcastle Knights feed the Roosters. Sammy, what's it like in the inner sanctum coming into this game knowing you played each other in round 1? It was close and the Roosters really could have pushed it to golden point.
Yeah, I think there were so many variations of how these semi-finals could have looked, and this was the perfect scenario for us. The Roosters wanted to verse the Knights in this semi-final, and we got that. And I love hearing that from Hannah about turning the team around and potentially going into this semi-final playing their best, because we absolutely want to beat them at their best. We don't want it to be a game where they leave something on the field and that's how we've won. We absolutely want them to be at their best. And the vibe this week has been a lot around, you know, that round 1 loss and how at that time it's the worst way to start the campaign in the season. But now that the girls get a second chance, we're absolutely loving it. And yeah, I think it just puts a little bit of fuel in the fire, and it couldn't have planned out better for us, and we're super excited about this weekend.
Yeah, they needed a bit of a rocket from Ben Jeffries a few weeks ago now, and it seems to have done the trick. They have got stars in their side that we've talked about all year, but Tamika Upton, the Dahlia medal winner, chasing her 5th premiership, absolutely ridiculous. Her season has had 10 try assists in 9 games, but 4 of them have come in the last 2 weeks. So, Joe, how has the fullback evolved this season and looks ready to take home another title?
Well, I think one of the keys to Tamika's success is she pushes herself every year. You can see here in one of the tries she scored, she draws in the defence and she's got options ready to go. So she makes the players around her better. But as the fullback lines up, she looks like she's going to go short. But when she takes off, she doesn't. And she passes a long ball. So it's her capacity to make a decision under pressure in response to what the defenders do that makes her so dangerous. Generally speaking, defenders respond to attack, but she as attacker responds to the defence. Here, similar lines again, you would think she's potentially going to go out. Her body language, the way she's holding her arms, the way she's holding her shoulders. But when it comes to the crunch, she's got the options. She decides to go short, and it almost looks like a training drill. Her centre goes over virtually untouched. So it's those little parts to her game that she keeps adding in on top of what she's done over the last few years, which is potentially why the Knights are such a threat.
Well, let's look at your team card, because what will probably potentially frighten the Knights a little bit is that you do name 3 of your Gillaroos who have had injury concerns. Captain Isabel Kelly is in the centres, and on the extended bench, Taryn Aiken in jersey 20 and Jess Surgis in jersey number 19. So, Sam, of most concern was Isabel Kelly and her dislocated elbow on the weekend. Looked like that would be curtains for her season, but she's named. How is she tracking?
She's actually tracking really well. She was in a bit of pain as she did the injury, but as soon as when we went into the sheds afterwards, she was saying that it, you know, wasn't as painful as she would think, considering the injury that she's done. And even at training on Tuesday, she's in pretty good spirits. She knows that she's able to manage this injury and push on towards this weekend's game. So she's a tough cookie, and let's be honest, Izzy with 1 arm is better than most people with 2. So I think we're going to be right with her coming back onto the field this weekend. But yeah, she's doing great. She's in training, and all is going well.
T, how significant of inclusions are these if Kelly, Aiken and potentially long shot Surgis play in terms of the result?
Oh, it's huge. You look at how much Taryn Aiken orchestrates the structure and the attack of the Roosters and how pivotal she is in their success. And then you look at the go forward that both Jess and Izzy provide. Takes the pressure off your middles and your back rowers, especially when you're in yardage, and that push and pull of energy. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sammy, it allows the opportunities for the likes of your fullback, your 6 and your 7 to really open up off the back of it. Jess and Izzy alone are game breakers and can win you a game. So their inclusion is huge for the Roosters, and if they are all three are available, I'd be a very confident chook.
Well, one of the matchups of the weekend has to be on the edge in this game, and it comes down to the reigning Dally M back rowers of the year, Rooster Olivia Kernick and Knights premiership winner. She's chasing her 4th consecutive premiership, mind you. Yasmin Clydesdale, what a freak. How do they each contribute, Joe, significantly but differently to these two sides?
Well, when you look at those statistics, it's hard to find a difference. It almost looks like somebody's made a mistake and put the same stats out twice, with the exception of offloads and tackles. When you reflect on the season they've both had, they're both tried and tested second rowers. Yazzy's probably a bit more equal in her attack and defence, whereas Kernick, I do believe, is probably slightly stronger in attack, but they play on opposite sides of the field as well. So it also comes down to their spine players in their own individual teams and their team structure. So for them, there is slight differences. So what that will do is provide such an incredible matchup this weekend.
Amazing. Yasmin Clydesdale consistently strong. Sammy, Kernick's 23. That's ridiculous considering all of the career now ahead of her, a decade potentially of dominating on that edge.
Yeah, she certainly plays with that type of maturity, and we see what she can do in attack. We see the stats there, and she's a bit of a ball player as well, which is huge for our team and any team that gets Kernick to play with them. But I think something we don't see is her defensive efforts. She is a huge talker in defence, and I noticed that exceptionally because I'm the fullback, and we know that the fullback is usually the one trying to coordinate the troops around the back, but she does a lot of that talking, a lot of telling people where to go, and it's such a huge help, and that comes from her footy knowledge. She's very quick to adapt to players, and you know, we go back to talking about Tamika Upton, and that's why I've got a real confidence around, you know, Tamika loving those short sides, is because it's not just me at the back trying to count numbers and giving the girls an awareness of where Tamika is. You've got Olivia Kernick there barking orders and understanding exactly who we need, where we need, and when we need them.